ways of Sufism. Yeah. What is a Sufi? You hear it in Islam. You hear it in other culture. A Sufi, you know, definitely you hear it in Islam. But today we're going to discuss what is this ancient but secret art. Let's talk about it, okay? The poetic ones. Healing with herbs, hypnotism, music, and dance. Yeah, the Sufis participated in poetry, dance, hypnotism, healing with herbs. Let's get a really good point understood here. So when the Sufi was requested, wanted to heal somebody through, hypnotism, auto-suggestion, what would people pay the Sufi? This was like a orator, like a hypnosis person, somebody that, that can hypnotize anybody, somebody that can cure you spiritually. What were these guys paid in? Their payment could not exceed more than a handful of barley or mullein. That's it. And the Sufi was not able to impose their will on somebody. Okay? Main thing to remember. Okay? So around this time, the bat was seen as a great symbol. The bat. The unregenerated, which was the people that are still asleep, was blind to true reality, real reality, reality of the higher senses, the higher faculties, not just your normal five. Okay? But themselves blind to things which are important, which is cultivating a great personal character, learning, reading, studying. The ungenerated, like the bat, the Sufi is asleep to things of the day. The familiar everyday struggles that normal people go through. I need some bud. I need to smoke today. I need to eat this. I got a taste for this. For better words, he is awake. Okay? So the Sufi's goal is to keep the spiritual attention up, to encourage that. The Sufi wanted to better you. The Sufi wanted to show you by the Sufi's way of living. What was the Sufi studying? It made you interested to see how he presented himself to people, how he carried himself. And you asked. Okay? 12th century best known Sufi scholar is Ibn Rashid, who transformed Christian scholars' thought. He transferred their thought. They believed that Jesus was a divinely inspired prophet. Quote, the text from the fourth gospel, it is not written in your law, I say ye are gods, which means judges, prophets, and other leaders like that are entitled to interpret God's word, God's law. Hold that this quasi-divinity should be a sacrifice of any man or woman, there being no one but God. So in Islam, you would say, La ilaha illallah. No deity has the right to be worshipped except Allah. So the Sufis would bear witness to that. That there's only one creator. That ye are gods, but you're not the God. Most Muslim Sufis protected themselves against charges of heresy, which is hearsay, by efforts of the Ghazali, Ghazali. All right, 1058. That was the time period. Known in Europe as the Ghazali, who become the highest doctrinal authority in Islam at the time. Title, Proof of Islam. The Sufis were forced to adapt handshakes, grips, and means of secrecy to show who they were. They couldn't just announce, hey, are you Sufi? Are you? No, they had to adopt handshakes and other gestures to know that you was a Sufi. These are concepts that Africans, Egyptians use. In slavery times, Africans use braids, the drinking gourd. They use quilts. They use quilts to show messages in secrecy. Because we are a cosmological people. So we use these elements that we had. So in this time, the Sufis were forced, due to the time that they were in, to adopt handshakes and move in secrecy. These are how the Masonic lodges were started. Now you can see how they started doing the handshakes, right? Passwords and all that. Because, Freemason itself began as a Sufi society. You can see how these things got made. It first reached England in the reign of King Asselton, 1924 to 1939. The induced people from Scotland, Richard Burton, translated 1001 Nights Being a Freemason and Sufi, pointed out both societies were alike, but he had not grown enough to realize that Freemasonry began as a Sufi group. They just couldn't fathom that. So these Sufis were, make no doubt about it, people of color, people of high melanin concentrate, and not the pigment melanin, which is the skin. We're talking about neuromelanin. They had a lot of this. And you can see how these societies were formed. But as I just gave you a reference, Richard Burton translated the Sufi's teaching. But he just couldn't fathom that Freemasonry began from people of color. Hope you like this message. Cheers.